Hey, hi. It's Hoop. We're back. It's the Hatening again. Thank you for joining us. For me, the editorial we. Today, on today's episode, I want to talk about eating meat, because I'm super fucking manly and I'm trying to get some recognition from the Joe Rogan crowd. I don't know. I want to talk about this just kind of like it's been something that's been like on my mind for a while. Just, I don't know. Okay. So during the pandemic, obviously, like a lot of people aren't going out to eat as much. And, unless you can afford like takeout all the time, you're being forced to cook at home more, right? And because of that, people are starting to develop different tastes in food due to what they can afford and also what they can cook. And one of the big things that I have found as like an interesting topic when talking to people about what they have been cooking during the pandemic is meat, Like, I know a lot of people who have cut meat out of their diet or have severely limited their intake of meat because it's something that they don't like to cook or they don't know how to cook, right? I know some people who have gone vegetarian or vegan, sort of for similar reasons, like it was just easier. Since they're not going out anymore, they're not tempted to get a burger, to get pizza, to get whatever the fuck. So they're, doing whatever, and that's cool. Do you? Like, I don't give a shit. I find like meat culture to be equally like laughable in like a gross way and laughable in like an objectively hilarious way. Just because like I can't really think of any other distinction that has like its roots in the culinary world that has become such like a politicized like dichotomy than like eating meat or not eating meat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand really how like conservatives have like sort of been branded as like the meat eating party, but then like liberals are like, vegan, vegetarian, like don't eat meat. You know what I mean? And then like depending on where you fall on the like meat eating spectrum, like you have a lot of opinions on the people on the other end of that. You know what I mean? Like if you don't eat meat, like and this is not like I'm not trying to make generalized statements because I don't think a lot of people that I know really give too many shits, but there's like that weird stereotype of like, if you eat meat, then you think that like vegans and vegetarians are pussies. Whereas like, if you don't eat meat, you think that people who eat meat are like gross monsters and stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't really think that that's like as prevalent anymore because like meat-free diets or like types of meat-free diets, like you don't eat red meat or something, or you don't eat pork, are so prevalent with like diet culture and shit that like, have I done an episode about that? If not, I'm going to at some point. But it like has become so prevalent that I feel like it's not weird anymore to be like, oh yeah, they don't eat meat. Like I remember growing up in the 90s and like being vegan and vegetarian was like super fucking edgy and was like a thing that people would talk about. I distinctly remember that shit where like someone's older brother or sister would like go vegan and then like every household in the school would talk about it. Like I remember being at like eating with my fucking mom and the conversation turning into, oh, did you hear that so-and-so doesn't eat meat anymore? And it was like, oh man, what? For real? Like not even hamburgers? You know what I'm talking about? Like that was a fucking thing back in the day. Now, like I don't really think anyone gives a shit. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like a very funny. It's a very interesting topic. It's very funny. And it's also just like it's obviously something that like you need to know, like their dietary restrictions when you're getting to know someone. And I don't want this episode to be about dietary restrictions. I want it to specifically be about like eating meat. Because like, I don't know, like meat eating culture is so interesting. Like it's so fucking like, it can be so like rabid, right? And so just like a big part of people's identity, right? Like bacon people. Remember when like Epic Food Time was like a big fucking thing? And like so many like memes were coming out about like bacon because like all they did was like make shit with bacon in it. You know what I mean? Like that was like a weird time on the internet. And then just like, I don't know, like it like there's so much just like weird, like conservative, like saber rattling around like cooking meat and like barbecuing, like obviously like that's a thing. Like barbecue guys, like grill guys, like that's a fucking like that's a whole subculture. Like that's a whole identity in and of itself. It's just like motherfuckers who like to grill or can like grill good, right? Like and it's always so silly. Like I love eating meat, like, but I don't like, I wouldn't lose my mind if I couldn't. Like I have like spent quite a lot of time around people who don't eat meat, and I never like really missed it to the point where I felt like I was fiending for it, right? And I hear people say that shit all the time where they'll be like, I couldn't never go vegan, man. I'd kill myself if I couldn't eat a fucking pork chop. And it's like, really? Because I don't know. I don't think that that's really the case, my guy. You know what I'm saying? It's just fucking, it's strange to me how people really like attach themselves to like the idea of consuming meat and make it such a big deal. And I'm not, I swear to God, I'm not doing some like consuming the flesh of dead animals is gross. Like, I don't give a fuck what you eat. I eat out the trash. Like, I'll eat whatever, you know, but like I've thought about going meat free, like for health reasons or just like economic reasons, but like it never happened. But like if it did, like I wouldn't make a big deal out of it, right? Like I know people who like won't eat meat and get really like won't eat meat to the point where like they won't eat a piece of pizza if the pepperonis are picked off. Like that's a big thing. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like a distinction between people who like don't eat meat is like whether or not you would do shit like that, right? Like if like, you know, meat has touched the plate or the food or the cooking utensils, like you won't touch it, like, you know, and there's a difference with like meat eating culture with like when you're on the other side of it. Like there's a difference between like not eating meat for health reasons and not eating meat for like ethical or like moral or like cultural or whatever the fuck reasons, right? You know what I mean? There's a big difference there. And again, I don't want to make this about like alternative eating styles, although like the more I think about it, like the two are very intertwined. Like I think that a lot of the reason why meat culture is so intense and like screamed about is because it has been politicized. And because there is an alternative to it, and so people grasp at anything that can be their identity or a part of their identity. So I definitely understand people who feel the need to make like I'm a meat eater part of who they are or who they want to date. That's a big thing. I guess it's on like dating sites where people will be like meat eaters only. You know, if you're a vegan, do not apply. Like that kind of shit. And I understand like, okay, like there are way worse things to like use as a main identifier than the fact that you like to eat steak. You know what I mean? So go off, king, do whatever. But like, it's just silly to me when people get super worked up about it. You know what I mean? Like I like to eat meat, but I don't really care if I can or don't. You know what I mean? Like if I'm with people who don't eat meat, I'm not gonna. I always thought that shit was weird where like, you know, people kind of like nanny boo boo I'm eating meat around like vegans. Like I definitely knew people who like got upset about that shit. I definitely like experienced a lot of that or enough of that when I was like younger, and people were like thought like, you know, like punks and stuff were like going vegan and vegetarian and wanted to like militantly like express their beliefs. I always thought it was kind of silly. I did kind of like antagonize people like that, I'm not gonna lie, because I just thought it was so silly. And I was always kind of like, if you want to break vegan or vegetarian, I'll buy you like the Big Mac or the steak or whatever. You know what I mean? More like in jest than like trying to convert you back to my team. But I don't know, like meat culture is like really weird. That being said, like sometimes it's really good. Like a good steak is fucking good. Like a good burger is fucking good. I mean, that's the same way with any fucking type of food, right? If you can cook anything correctly, like it kind of just tastes awesome. But like, just like the idea of getting like a big juicy steak, like I can't really think of any other foods where like it has so much like mythology around it, right? Like and that's like strictly an American thing because of like the stranglehold that like the cattle industry has on like our collective unconscious and stuff, and just like the American economy and like the American image, right? Because if you look, I mean, Jesus Christ, you look at like the growth of like the American economy back in the day, and it's all centered around cattle and beef, you know, railroads and fucking metal and all that shit. Just basically it's about like getting people fucking meat, you know, and like all the crazy shit surrounding like the meat industry, and like there are like some very topical political and economic things to say about like how fucked the meat industry is right now, which is neither here nor there. But, you know, there's something like intrinsically American about like your meat consumption patterns, which I think is like too big to really ignore, but not big enough to really like look at like in depth, like college dissertation style for me. It's just something that is very interesting. You know, I respect it if you can cook meat correctly or you can cook meat good, I respect the fuck out of it. You know, I know some people who can make a piece of meat fucking sing. I know other people who can't cook for shit, you know, and I get why you stop fucking trying, you know. And also, like, meat can be prohibitively expensive. So, like, I definitely understand people who are just like, I'm not a vegetarian, but I haven't had meat in a long time because I can't afford that shit. I gotta stretch my fucking money. I get that completely. You know what I'm saying? But also, it is very funny, like, I know a lot of people who it's like, yeah, on my birthday, I go to the steakhouse and I get a $65 steak. And that's, like, not really, like, an outlandish thing for someone to say culturally in America. But just, like, if you break that sentence down, it is kind of wild. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, if you fuck with meat, like, cool. If you don't fuck with meat, cool. But it's just so funny how, like, that is, like, such a social distinction in this country. And, like, within our, like, generation or generations where, like, it's always a topic of discussion. It's always, like, you know, like a social qualifier. Like, people feel very strongly about, like, meat. And it's, I don't know, it's just, like, something that's really fun to, like, think about, you know? I'm not gonna lie. I had a fucking hamburger the other day for the first time in a long time. And I forgot how fucking good, like, meat prepared well can taste. But then it's also one of those things where, like, bland meat isn't that good. Bland anything isn't that good, but it's just, I don't know. It's just, like, very funny to me. I don't know. Meat's a thing. Also, R.I.P. Meatloaf. But that's the episode. If you like The Hatening, please like and subscribe. Give us 5 stars, please. Tell your friends also. People have been, it fucking rocks. You can find The Hatening on all social media platforms. From there, you can find the individual profiles for myself and super producer Andrew. Take care of yourself and the people around you, and don't forget to tell your friends you love them. Oh yeah, the way people cook their steak is a big thing too, which is kind of silly, but if you eat your steak fucking, like, well done, you're gross.